Has someone you love started changing, but not in obvious ways? They're still themselves mostly. But lately, they seem quieter. They sit longer, sleep more, answer in half sentences. You tell yourself it's just part of getting older. But deep down, you feel it. Something's shifting. And you don't know whether to worry or wait. That's where Robert found himself last year, watching his wife, Ellen, grow distant after 48 years of marriage. He thought he had more time to figure it out. By the time Robert brought it up, Ellen barely responded. Not out of anger, but because her thoughts no longer connected like they used to. He always believed decline came with big, dramatic signs. Falls, forgetting names, hospital visits. But that's not how it started. It started with small moments, missed appointments, lost interest in their Sunday walks, laughter that faded too quickly. The signs were there, but they didn't look like what he'd always been told to expect. In this video, we're uncovering Eve's subtle shifts that often go unnoticed, but can quietly signal that someone's health, energy, or spirit is slipping. Not in a dramatic way, in ways that feel ordinary, like brushing off plans with friends, or struggling to finish a sentence they would have breezed through just months ago, or quietly giving up a hobby that once brought them joy. These aren't just habits. They're clues, gentle signs that something deeper may be changing. And if we spot them early, we can respond with more patience, more care, and more presence. Here's what we'll cover. The quiet behavior that often gets mistaken for moodiness. A physical change most families chalk up to getting older. A forgotten joy that might reveal something important. How one common health excuse hides a much bigger issue. And the signal that shows up last, but matters the most. If you've ever worried about missing the moment to help, love, or simply understand someone better, you're in the right place. Thousands of families have found peace just by knowing what to look for. Stay with us. You won't look at the little things the same way again. Welcome to Wise Elders Circle, where we share practical tips, inspiring stories, and expert advice to help you live your best life after 60. Join our community of empowered seniors and discover ways to stay healthy, happy, and independent. Subscribe now and start living your golden years to the fullest. Sign number 1. The conversations that quietly end. Sign number 1 is a gradual pullback from everyday conversations. Not dramatic, not angry, just less. They nod more, speak less. You ask how their day was, and they say fine. But don't ask about yours. They used to chime in with stories, memories, opinions. Now, they seem to fade into the background, letting others talk. Sometimes they trail off mid-sentence, or lose interest before they finish a thought. And when someone visits, they stay in the other room, saying, "Tell them I'll talk to them later." But later never comes. This kind of withdrawal often starts subtly. It can stem from mild cognitive decline, early hearing loss, or even undetected depression, which is common in older adults but rarely discussed. When words start feeling harder to find, or energy becomes limited, the simplest way to cope is silence. And because older adults often don't want to burden their loved ones, they won't complain. They'll just step back. But silence isn't always peace. Sometimes it's a quiet surrender. Nancy, 68, loved being the first to call her granddaughter after school. Every day. Then one week, she didn't call. Her daughter thought Nancy was busy. By the third week, she asked Nancy why. Nancy's answer? "I can't keep up. I mix things up. She deserves better conversations than I can give." Pulling back from talking doesn't just affect social life. It shrinks the world. It reduces brain stimulation, weakens relationships, and often accelerates feelings of loneliness, which is tied to increased risk of memory loss and physical decline. It also creates confusion in families. Some take it personally. Others assume the senior is just tired. But the truth is, many older adults want to connect. They're just unsure how to keep up anymore. And the less they talk, the more invisible they begin to feel. Here's what helps. Slow the pace. Make space. Lose the pressure. When you talk with them, don't rush. Don't fill in their pauses too quickly. Ask open-ended questions that invite memories instead of facts. Instead of "What did you eat today?" try "What was your favorite meal growing up?" Instead of talking over TV noise, try a quiet moment at breakfast. If hearing might be an issue, offer a checkup, not as a problem, but as a way to enjoy things more. And one of the simplest things? Write letter. Even if you live nearby, letters allow time. They don't require fast responses. And for some, Reading and rereading your words gives them a sense of closeness that conversations can't always match. When conversations grow quiet, it's not always distance. Sometimes it's a whisper for help, one that doesn't know how to ask. Sign number 2, a sudden disinterest in food they used to love. Sign number 2 is a quiet change at the table. When someone suddenly stops enjoying the meals they once looked forward to, the portions get smaller. Plates return to the sink barely touched. They start saying, "I'm not hungry," or "it doesn't taste right." Their favorite soup sits in the fridge untouched. When asked, they shrug, "I'll eat later." But later rarely comes. You might even notice they're skipping breakfast entirely or pretending they've already eaten. This isn't just a preference shift. It's often a combination of physical and emotional change. As we age, our sense of smell and taste naturally dulls. But deeper causes may be at play. Asterisk medication side effects. Asterisk depression. Asterisk dental discomfort. Asterisk digestive changes. Asterisk or even early cognitive decline, where eating habits become harder to manage. There's also something rarely spoken aloud. Eating alone doesn't feel like eating. It feels like going through the motions. And that emotional disconnect often leads to skipping meals. Ernest, 75, used to set the table every night for 2 years after his wife passed. He didn't eat much, but he couldn't bear to sit alone. Then one day, he stopped setting the table. His daughter asked why. He answered, "Dinner's not dinner if nobody's waiting with you." This quiet loss of appetite can lead to malnutrition, muscle loss, and even cognitive fog. Seniors may appear weaker, more tired, or unsteady, when really, their bodies are simply underfed. But it's not just physical. Mealtimes are often the last ritual many older adults hold on to. When that rhythm breaks, it can feel like life is losing shape. And in families, this change often gets dismissed. People say, "Oh, mom's just picky now." But the truth is, something deeper has changed, and they might not know how to explain it. Don't focus on calories. Focus on connection and comfort. Invite them to cook with you, even something small. Ask them to help with chopping, stirring, or even tasting. This gives a sense of purpose. If eating alone is an issue, try shared meals, even virtually. A simple video call during lunch can help. Also, consider switching up the flavors. Sometimes, stronger seasonings or familiar comfort dishes can reignite interest. If chewing or digestion is a concern, consult a doctor or dietitian, but gently. Frame it as a way to feel stronger, not fix a problem. Even placing a few favorite photos near the dining area can turn a meal into a memory, reminding them of joy, not routine. When food loses its flavor, it's not always the seasoning. Sometimes, it's the missing company that leaves the plate untouched. Sign number 3, giving up on activities they used to enjoy. Sign number 3 is when someone starts stepping away from the very things that once made them feel alive. They stop tending the garden they once woke up early for. They stop playing cards, stop knitting, stop watching their favorite show. Books remain unread. Their once scheduled days become filled with long, aimless hours. They might say, "I just don't feel like it anymore," or "It's too much trouble." You suggest picking it back up. They smile politely, but never follow through. This change often stems from low-grade depression, joint pain, or cognitive fatigue. As we age, the mental energy to plan, begin, and finish even enjoyable tasks can feel overwhelming. When seniors lose friends or loved ones, the emotional anchors tied to hobbies often dissolve too. And for some, it's a form of quiet grief, mourning the life they used to live, but without saying a word. Alma, 70, once ran the church craft fair every year. She knew every vendor, every stitch, every setup. One year, she said she was taking a break. The next, she didn't even attend. When asked, she whispered, "What's the point if the people I loved doing it with are gone?" This disengagement is more than boredom. It can lead to faster cognitive decline, physical inactivity, and isolation. When routines vanish, so does structure. And without structure, days blur. Even worse, loved ones may not notice. They think, "Dad's just slowing down." But what's actually happening is an emotional shutdown, a soft detachment from joy, identity, and purpose. Don't just tell them to start again. Start small and start together. If gardening is too much, begin with one potted plant. If reading feels like a chore, Switch to audiobooks or invite them to read together for 10 minutes a day. Frame it as time with them, not something for them. Invite them to share stories about the hobby, even if they're not ready to resume it. Sometimes, talking about it rekindles the spark. Offer choices, not commands. Would you like to do a crossword or help me pick photos for the album? Every small success rebuilds confidence, and every shared moment rebuilds connection. When someone lets go of what once lit them up, they're not always giving up. Sometimes, they're waiting for someone to remind them they still matter. Sign number 4. Neglecting personal hygiene or appearance. Sign number 4 often creeps in quietly. When someone starts letting go of their grooming, their clothes, even their routines. You notice uncombed hair, unchanged clothes, or a pile of laundry that never moves. The once frequent trips to the barber or salon stop entirely. They might wear the same shirt for days or skip showers altogether. Their home begins to feel stale. You ask, "Want to get dressed for church?" They reply, "This is fine," without looking up. This isn't about laziness. It's often tied to arthritic pain, mobility issues, or depressive symptoms. Even lifting an arm to comb hair can feel like a struggle. Bathing might feel dangerous due to balance concerns. And deeper still, when someone feels invisible, they stop trying to be seen. There's also an emotional element. For some, caring for their appearance reminds them of who they used to be, someone they're grieving quietly. Dolores, 76, used to dress like every day was Easter Sunday. Matching earrings, ironed skirts, perfume. After her husband passed, she stopped. When her daughter visited, she found her in pajamas at 2 p.m. Dolores smiled and said, "No one's looking anymore." This shift can lead to skin infections, decreased self-esteem, and loss of social interaction. But perhaps more importantly, it sends a message. They may no longer feel worth the effort. When grooming stops, dignity erodes, and it's rarely noticed until a holiday or special event reveals just how much they've faded into routine neglect. Approach with gentleness, not judgment. Instead of pointing it out, offer connection. "Would you help me pick out an outfit for our lunch?" Turn hygiene into shared time. Play their favorite music during grooming, or turn a bath into a relaxing ritual. If mobility is an issue, introduce tools that restore independence, like long-handled brushes or shower chairs. Offer to go shopping together, not just for clothes, but for fun. Praise gently. A small, honest compliment can go a long way. Noticing their effort reminds them they're seen. And if depression or grief is suspected, open the door with compassion. "You haven't seemed like yourself lately. I'd love to help if you'll let me." When someone stops caring for how they look, it's not always a choice. Sometimes, it's a quiet surrender and a quiet call for connection. Sign number 5. Unexplained irritability or sudden mood swings. Sign number 5 is often misunderstood. When your loved one seems quick to anger, overly sensitive, or suddenly distant without clear reason. They snap at gentle questions. They resist help with a glare or go silent when you visit. A once cheerful person becomes easily agitated, defensive, or withdrawn. One day they're talkative, the next they barely acknowledge your presence. You walk away wondering, did I do something wrong? This isn't just getting older. It can stem from frustration over lost independence, chronic pain, medication side effects, or early cognitive decline. When words come slower or tasks feel harder, irritation becomes a mask for fear or embarrassment. They might be mourning abilities they haven't yet admitted are slipping. It's not the world they're angry at. It's the loss of who they once were in that world. Howard, 73, yelled at his grandson for moving a coffee cup. It wasn't about the cup. It was that he couldn't remember why it mattered. Later that evening, he sat alone in the kitchen, whispering, "I don't like who I'm becoming." Unchecked irritability pushes people away. Family stops calling as often. Friends stop visiting. And that isolation only deepens the emotional spiral. Over time, it becomes a self-reinforcing cycle. Loneliness fuels anger. Anger fuels loneliness. And sadly, caregivers or loved ones may interpret it as meanness, when it's actually silent suffering. First, resist the urge to take it personally. Respond with calm curiosity, not confrontation. Instead of, "Why are you so grumpy?" ask, "You seem upset today. What can I do to make it easier?" Track medication changes, sleep patterns, and physical complaints. Sometimes, a simple change in dosage or better sleep can ease the mood swings dramatically. Validate their emotions. Say, I can't imagine how hard this must feel. But I'm here. We'll get through it together. And most importantly, create routines. Routine provides stability. Stability calms the nervous system. Even a daily walk, shared meal, or favorite TV hour can anchor the emotional ups and downs. When someone lashes out, they're not always trying to hurt you. Sometimes, they're just hoping you'll stay, even when they don't know how to ask. Let's take a moment to reflect. You've just walked through 5 quiet, powerful changes that often go unnoticed until it's too late. Sign number 1. The meals they once loved now sit untouched. Sign #2. Once active hands rest idle, not from laziness, but because the spark has dimmed. Sign number 3. Words stumble, memories slip, and conversations fade before they even begin. Sign number 4. They stop looking in mirrors, stop changing clothes. Not because they don't care, but because they no longer feel seen. Sign number 5. Their warmth is replaced with anger, but behind the sharp words is a quiet cry for help. These aren't just signs of aging. They are signs of a human being trying to hold on to dignity, often in silence. Now, here's the truth. You noticed, and that means everything. Because noticing leads to action. And action, done with love, can change someone's entire day, or even their final years. So let's shift the focus. This isn't about fearing decline. It's about learning how to walk beside those we love with compassion, not confusion. It's about showing up, not with all the answers, but with an open heart. And most of all, it's about remembering that presence matters more than perfection. Let me tell you this. You're doing better than you think. And now, with these insights, you can do even more. Even small acts, a shared cup of tea, a 5-minute walk, noticing when something's off, can be life-changing. Don't underestimate what love, informed by awareness, can do. Comment "aware" below if you believe every senior deserves to be seen, heard, and supported. Want to take it a step further? Grab the free Caregiver Connection Checklist linked in the description. It's a simple guide that helps you stay emotionally tuned in, even on hard days. And finally, don't stop here. Watch this video right here. It's the companion to this one, and it reveals the 6 vitality-stealing mistakes most people don't spot until it's too late. The journey of love doesn't end with knowledge, it begins with it. So stay curious, stay kind, and most of all, stay connected.